Genshin Impact has an official manga, which I believe many knew, but haven't had the chance to read. In fact, there's quite a lot of information and backstory on some characters. We'll see many familiar faces from Mondstadt like Kea and Diluc, along with some who appeared but yet to be in-game like Diluc and Collei. In this video, we'll look at chapters 1 to 16, which takes place sometime before our traveler lands in Tavern. One day, in Herasis, an underground arena of the Fatui, a deathmatch has just ended. Instead of a deathmatch, one could call it a human experimentation. Dotore, one of the Fatui harbingers and his aide, Krupp, is conducting some cruel experiments. Now, the materials for their experiments, in other words, the test subjects, are starting to run out. Suddenly, Krupp recalled that they received an invitation from Mondstadt. Over at a winery in Mondstadt, the young owner Diluc is hosting a banquet and giving a speech. But the sudden arrival of Dotore broke the ambience. Dotore wants to have an audience with the seneschal of the Church of Favonius. Diluc wishes to reject, but Dotore is known as a hero to the people of Mondstadt, for once defeating Ursa the Drake. The seneschal Seamus have no choice but to agree to a meeting with the Fatui. At a meeting chamber in Diluc's manor, quartermaster of the Knights of Favonius, Kea, joins in, and the talks begin. Krupp goes straight to the point, that they are looking for new talents to join their ranks. Kea questions Krupp's proposal. Why couldn't the Fatui just recruit people from their own nation, instead of coming all the way to Mondstadt? As the heated discussion continues, the atmosphere got tense. Finally, Diluc suggests that they take a break from this. Dotore, who is unhappy and out of patience, decides to leave, while Krupp tries to think of another plan. He bumps into Kea, who mentions that they are considering his proposal and would like to make sure that the Fatui are properly compensated. Krupp finds his way into the underground cellars, where all the fine wines are kept. With the scent of wine all around, he's now lost in his thoughts. Suddenly, a throwing knife flies out from a dark corner and pierces his hand. A mysterious person with a mask and black cloak appears. Obviously, it is the winery owner Diluc. The next thing he knew, he's all chained up, as Diluc forces him to spill the Fatui's true intentions. Just before he managed to speak, Dotore appears, and silenced him for good. The unique vision on Diluc's arm caught Dotore's attention, and he finds it very interesting. Strangely, he then withdrew all his requests and left. This outcome is unexpected, yet everyone is relieved. After Dotore left Mondstadt, he ordered all Fatui diplomats to return to Snezhnaya. And the task to escort them falls on Kea, who is not liking his job at all. At the city gate, a green-haired girl wrapped in bandages appears. The guards deny her entry. As the carriage approaches, a strange black mist begins to seep out from under her bandages, slowly spreading to the diplomat's carriage. Suddenly, the mist forms a giant serpent which quickly consumes the carriage in black fire. The diplomats are killed. During the confusion, the bandaged girl got into the city unnoticed. The death of 2 Fatui diplomats is considered a very serious incident. If it is not resolved soon enough, the Fatui might take advantage of the situation. So, outrider of the Knights of Favonius, Amber, is now assigned to help Kea with the investigations of this black fire incident. However, although Amber shows her intention to help out, Kea simply dismisses her and comes to the Diluc manor. With Kea's arrival, Diluc treats him coldly while playing darts. As Kea mentions about the black fire serpent, suddenly Diluc lost his aim and broke a vase. He continues to explain the situation, knowing that Diluc actually cares even though he is acting as if he doesn't. Back to Amber, who is unhappy with how she was treated, taking a night stroll. In front of the Anemo Archon statue, she sees a suspicious girl, wrapped in bandages. This is Collei. As Amber questions her, Collei says she is unclean, and tries to convince Amber to leave her alone. Surprisingly, this caused Amber to be even more enthusiastic. Collei then lies, telling her that she is searching for something. Amber decides to help her and then takes her to the top of the Favonius Cathedral. However, what she is looking for in Mondstadt is not an object, but a chance for vengeance. Couldn't find any clues. Amber thinks that maybe they should be searching on ground level instead. She grabs Collei, spreads her gliders and jumps off. Unexpectedly, they bump into the acting Grandmaster Jean and the librarian Lisa. Jean invites Amber to share her intel and proposes to go to the library where information has been gathered. Amber is hesitant because she was not able to obtain any intel herself, but Collei, thinking the library may contain what she is searching for, convinces Amber to go and bring her along. At the library, they discuss the incident. But with plenty of reports gathered, there is still no progress, and Amber feels hopeless. Suddenly, a burnt paper caught her eye. Leaving Collei behind with Jean and Lisa, Amber leaves to start her own investigations. Just outside the city, she stumbles upon a new hilly troll camp. This is unusual because hilly trolls normally do not camp so close to the city. Upon a closer look, Amber spots a strange device with a Fatui mark on one of the towers. After defeating all the hilly trolls in the camp, she picks up the metal bird device. Just as she was about to leave, a large automaton blocked her path. This is Krupp, after Dottore transformed his corpse. Amber thought that this is just a simple investigation and did not bring her bow along. She has no chance against this monster. As she thought this is the end for her, Jean arrives just in time. But this enemy is difficult to deal with. It ignores Jean's attacks and seems to be locked onto the device with Amber. Noticing this, Amber tosses the device towards some explosive barrels. Combining powers with Jean, they trigger an explosion and blast it into pieces. As to why Jean showed up, earlier at the library after Amber left, Jean further inspected that burnt paper, a report that mentioned about a delusion, which was previously owned by Diluc's late father, Crepus. Jean decided to look for Amber while Lisa went to visit Diluc. After both of them left, Collei sneaks out of the library, taking the burnt paper with her. However, she is unable to read its contents. Outside the headquarters, she bumps into Kea, who starts to interrogate her. Before he could ask more questions, Amber and Jean show up. Collei hands the paper to Kea and he now learns of this new clue. With Diluc and Lisa at the winery, and with Kea and Jean in the city, they recall the incident that happened a few years ago. Diluc just turned 18, and his father, Crepus, was very proud of him, since he got a vision at such a young age, and also became a knight of Favonius. Both of which his father regretted not achieving in his life. His father organized a coming-of-age party for him, but on their way home, someone placed a strange bird device on their carriage, which looks alike the one Amber found. This device somehow attracted Ursa the Drake. To protect him, his father used the delusion's power to fend off the dragon. However, using its power backfired and took his life. Kea, who got wind of this, rushed to the scene. But it was too late. With a heavy heart, Diluc returned to the knight's headquarters, only to receive an unthinkable order from Inspector Iraq: conceal the truth. They did not want the public to hear that the dragon was defeated by a mere businessman, which would hurt the reputation of the Knights of Favonius. It was so outrageous that Diluc did not think it was even worth trying to argue. He resigned and left his vision behind. Back to the present, Kea suspects that the Fatui is once again behind whatever's happening now, but he is still having his doubts about Collei. Collei tries to deceive him, saying that she has a friend on whom the Fatui had done something, and that she came to Mondstadt in search of a cure. Of course, Jean and Kea instantly saw past her lies, while Amber, being naive as she is, believed every single word. As no one could decipher the document, Lisa will write a letter to someone in Sumeru, who might be able to help. As they gather at the knight's headquarters, Jean makes two announcements. The first is that many of the Fatui's metal bird devices have been spotted all over the city. Secondly, the Fatui will pay them an official visit in 3 days. And they have to solve the Black Fire case before then. Kea mentions that he has a clue as to who the culprit is. With their new intel, Collei and Amber go around the city to look for more Fatui devices. As it is also the day of the Ludi Harpastum, Amber decides to take Collei to experience the festival. After visiting food stalls and playing games, they attend a magic show. Collei gets chosen as a volunteer and is instructed to get into a wooden box. Inside the box, the enclosed space causes Collei to panic, and she recalls horrific memories of her past. Back on stage, the performer opens the box to reveal nothing inside, and Amber is told to look for her friend in another box. She finds Collei, who is still in panic, attempts to stab her with a prop knife, but Amber just acted cheerful as always. This makes Collei realize that Mondstadt is not a dangerous place. Kea, on the other hand, have been observing Collei. He distracts Amber by telling her that more Fatui devices have been found, and sends her off. While Collei is occupied with a game, Kea approaches her and offers to guide her to the meet-up point with Amber. As she is brought into a quiet alley, suddenly a cryo needle strikes her arm. Kea attacks her in order to bring out her powers. Collei tries to get away, but a cryo wall raises and blocks her only escape route. Being forced into a corner, Collei begins to hear voices in her head. This is exactly what Kea hopes to see, a familiar sight of the Black Fire Serpent, emerging from Collei's body. Controlled by the Archon residue, Collei got stronger. And she is now overpowering Kea. The black flames want to end him, but suddenly Collei regains control for a split moment, looks Kea in his eyes.
Please, kill me.
She says. Before Kea could land another attack on her, Amber arrives, tosses her Baron Bunny, forcing Kea to back off, while she escapes with Collei. With the truth out, Collei thinks Amber now hates her. But on the contrary, Amber isn't mad, nor does she believe Collei to be evil. Finally, Collei met someone who treats her with such kindness, since the time she got the curse. Amber brings Collei to the library, where they meet the scholar from Sumeru, Cyno, who answered Lisa's request and came to help treat Collei's condition. In fact, rather than a treatment, it should be called placing a seal. The truth is, Collei was injected with the Archon residue as part of the Fatui's experiments. The only way is to place a seal and put it in a dormant state, to which Collei agrees. They decide to carry out the ritual the next morning at Star Snatch Cliff. At Angel's Share, Kea shares his thoughts with Diluc. He thinks that the Black Fire incident could not have been the Fatui's plan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left behind so many clues and sensitive documents. Their real scheme would be placing those devices to attract monsters, and cause havoc. Then the Fatui shows up and saves the day, similar to what happened 3 years ago. The Black Fire was in fact a separate incident that even the Fatui themselves did not anticipate. That's the reason they're coming to retrieve all their files. With all that the Fatui caused, what should they do? We return the favor, Diluc says. With a plan in mind. Kea agrees with a smile. The next morning, a Fatui representative, Barnabas, arrives at the headquarters, greeted by Kea. He claims that he witnessed Kea in a fight with the culprit of the Black Fire incident, but she escaped with someone dressed in red. As to who that other person was, he does not know, and orders his guards to start searching. As soon as they step out, they spot someone with red hair and hint of black fire, and immediately begin the chase. Meanwhile, atop Star Snatch Cliff, the ritual commences. The Archon residue in Collei's body is successfully suppressed. However, Barnabas sensed the Archon residue from afar. The now cleansed Collei gazes out towards the sea in awe. As she and Amber celebrate, Barnabas appears. The one who experimented on Collei and responsible for her curse, was in fact, Barnabas. Disappointed that she had her powers sealed away, he attacks them. Amber responds with her arrows and knocks down Barnabas. Much to their horror, Barnabas transforms into a giant beast. Despite being wounded, Amber continues to fight and defend Collei with all her might. Memories of her past resurface, and Collei starts to feel helpless. Amber tells her to not lose her spirit. This inspires Collei, and when the shield around her breaks, she thrusts herself towards Amber, wanting to protect her. She tells Amber to not worry about her, and focus on fighting Barnabas. Somehow, her vision begins to react. Suddenly, a magic circle appears. Several chains pin down Barnabas. Amber uses this opportunity and fires a charged shot, right through the beast. Barnabas reverts to his original form, and sees the masked and cloaked Diluc, with a delusion. Not far behind, Kea and the Fatui guards caught up. He immediately traps Diluc with his powers, helping the Fatui guards apprehend him. Taking credit for Barnabas' defeat, Diluc surrenders to the Fatui. The next morning, Collei leaves for Sumeru, along with Cyno. There, she plans to study medicine and learn more about the world. Although Collei did not get to say goodbye to Amber in person, she left Amber a letter, that Lisa taught her to write. Along with the letter, Collei returns the clothes that Amber had lent to her. As for Diluc, not to worry, he easily escaped from the Fatui somewhere along the way. In fact, this was their plan all along, and Diluc did exactly what he said. He returned the favor. Fast forward to one day in Angel's Share. To celebrate this success, Kea brought a gift for Diluc. A vase, but compared to the one that Diluc broke, this one is different, because at the bottom of the vase, is something that Diluc had once given up on. And that's all for the official Genshin Impact manga, chapter 1 to 16. Thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed it, do leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you around.